Warsaw, the capital of Poland. A modern metropolis on the banks of the Vistula River. 1.25 million inhabitants, 1/3 of them Jews. The largest Jewish community in Europe. The city hums with activity. Over its broad streets and attractive buildings towers the city's first skyscraper, the second tallest residential building in Europe. The old royal palace now serves as the residence of the President of the Republic. Near the palace rises a tall stone column, on top of which stands the statue of the Polish king, Zygmunt Vasa III, who in 1596 transferred the capital of Poland from Krakow to Warsaw. Not far from the palace is the old city of Warsaw. Its first houses were built between the 12th and 14th centuries. In its center is a large square surrounded by tall, narrow, walled houses pressed close up against each other. No house has more than 3 or 4 windows in its facade. Each has its own charm of style, with arches and ornamentations decorating its front. The most attractive house in the ancient square is the Fouquier House, which for more than 400 years has been famed for its cellar of ancient and exquisite wines. The first mention of Jews living in Warsaw occurs in 1414. In the old city, there was then a special street named the Street of the Jews. In 1483 came the first expulsion of Jews from Warsaw, and then the Street of the Jews ceased to exist. Several years later, a few Jews were allowed to return to Warsaw. Time and again, decrees of expulsion and limitation of rights were promulgated against them, and many times their Polish neighbors and the conquering Russian hordes struck at them with pogroms and blood riots. Only at the end of the 18th century did the Jews obtain legal rights to settle in the city. Then a large Jewish concentration developed, especially in and around Nalewki Street in the north of Warsaw. This area later became the most important commercial and industrial center of all Poland. In 1917, there were already some 350,000 Jews living in Warsaw, more than 40% of the population of the entire city. Here there was once a Jewish neighborhood. Today, it is the Theater Square where the Warsaw City Hall stands. Opposite the City Hall is the Polish Opera and also some of the country's most important theaters. This is the Jewish Community Building. It contains offices and the Bresson Museum, the first Jewish museum in Poland. In this building is situated the Autonomous Council of Warsaw's Jews. To the left stands a trade school with 300 Jewish students. The Jewish community maintains some 30 educational institutions, apart from hospitals and clinics, synagogues, and social welfare institutions. There is also a large number of private Hebrew high schools and also many elementary schools, Talmud Torahs, Tarbut, Yavne, Sisha, and also a seminary for rabbis, Tachkimoni, a seminary for Jewish teachers, an institute for Jewish studies, and many yeshivas. The Jewish streets hum with activity and commerce, especially in the Nalewki, Gancze, Franciszkanska area, the center of the garment and footwear industries of all Poland. Already in the 19th century, Warsaw Jews of distinguished families laid the foundations for Poland's industry and finances. They built mines, railways, founded banks, and developed Poland's international trade. It was they who turned Poland from a backward country into an industrialized state. Thanks to them, Warsaw became a most important economical, cultural, and spiritual bridge between Eastern and Western Europe. The roofed market, Kalimirowska, where the trade is in food products, fish, meat, fruit, vegetables. Here, as in the nearby Wielopole market, almost all the vendors are Jews. On Saturdays and Jewish holidays, trade stops there, almost completely. And the peddlers selling haberdashery, cigarettes, fruit, bagels, and other wares are almost all Jews. They trade here without a permit. which is why they are persecuted by policemen who constantly pick on them and, not infrequently, destroy their wares and imprison them. Most of Warsaw's merchants and artisans are Jews. Bagels are an important source of income for Warsaw's peddlers. A tinker passes through the courtyards of the houses calling, "I sharpen, I repair." This too belongs to Jewish life in the streets of Warsaw, as in Dzika Street, where some 30,000 Jews live. In one of the courtyards of this street, the Jewish oculist Dr. Ludwig Zamenhof, the creator of Esperanto, lived for many years. Today the street is named after him. Dr. Zamenhof's grave is in the Jewish cemetery, which was founded as early as the beginning of the 19th century. In this cemetery, there stands the Peretz tent over the graves of Yud Lamed Peretz, Yaakov Dinizon, and Shin Ansky, who are among the greatest of Jewish writers. Here, too, is the grave of Esther Rachel Kaminska, the mother of the Jewish theater. Warsaw is the world center of Jewish theater. Today, there is a guest performance by the Habima Theater Company from Palestine. Klomatska Street, home of the Jewish Writers Club, which is famous throughout the Jewish world. This is the great synagogue, Nozik. Tens of thousands of Warsaw's Jews gather in 300 synagogues and in the prayer houses of almost 100 Hasidic rabbis. The Krashinsky Garden in Nalewki Street is on Saturday the kingdom of Jewish mothers and children. When the children grow up, many of them will probably join one of the Jewish political parties or youth movements, Zionist, socialist, religious, from Hashomer Hatzair and Hechalutz to Agudat Yisrael, the Bund, and the underground Communist Party, whose center is in Warsaw. They will dream of building a new world, some in the land of Israel, some in Poland itself, and some, who knows? Of the 230 Jewish periodicals in Yiddish, Hebrew, and Polish appearing in Poland, 27 of them are dailies. The vast majority is published in Warsaw. Most of these, and especially the Heint and the Moment, are also read in many other Jewish communities. Saturday, Shabbat. Jewish Warsaw rests from work and commerce. Warsaw, 1939.